It was a 3-minute speech, or less than 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes, and was the best speech I have ever heard.
Do they know about Martin Luther King?
We have left it up to your own volition if it can be handled in this.
Could you lower those signs, please? I have some very sad news for all of you, and that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
My name is Jim Trulock. I was at the Robert Kennedy speech that night at 17th and Broadway. And I didn't know any of this at the time, but the mayor of Indianapolis, Dick Lugar, had told him that he couldn't offer police protection if Kennedy went into the Third Ward. And Kennedy essentially says, "So what, I'm going anyway," and did. When Kennedy got there, that was one of the first things he did, was say, put down the signs. I've got something more important to talk to you about. And then told of his own experiences and how he felt their anger and grief and sorrow. And he could feel it in a special way because a member of his family had been murdered too.
Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country, in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks and white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that is spread across our land, with an effort to understand compassion and love. For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust of the injustice of such an act against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man.
And I think Kennedy was one of the few white politicians around in 1968 who African Americans would take the time and give him the opportunity to try to talk to them and try to reach out.
He had no time to prepare it. He basically wrote it between the, not basically, he did. He thought about it between the airport and downtown. You know how far that is. It's not very far. And it was just from his heart.
I think he understood that someone of some kind of stature had to tell the crowd what happened. They couldn't be left without understanding the full impact of what had occurred with Dr. King's death. I think you have to give all sides of the issue. Sure, words do matter, and I believe Kennedy's words mattered quite a bit that evening. but perhaps I think not enough attention has been given to the crowd itself. So they took Kennedy's words and turned what he said into action. And I think that's a great legacy for what happened here in Indianapolis back in 1968.
There wasn't anybody else that could have told them that in truth, and he did. And I think it made a great deal of difference for people who, understandably, some of which, particularly the younger folks, wanted to express their anger in riotous ways.
I think that the difference between a victim and a person of hope is activism. And I think if you see problems out there and you don't do anything about it, it's very depressing. But I think if you're involved, engaged in creating change, that weariness and depression about the state of the world changes.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black.